All right, Alyssa. So, putting you in the hot seat, we're starting this new weekly series where we're sending out, hopefully, some really nice tips, some actionable items for people. And you and I get to kick off the series. But before we start talking about specifically what we want to give people from a takeaway, why don't you go ahead and take a minute and introduce yourself because you're new to the RedTree team.
Yeah, my name is Alyssa. I'm the strategist here at RedTree. And yeah, I really love the strategy role because I get to dig in deeper than design to figure out how we reach a user, how we build trust with the user, how we guide the user through your website. So more than just a pretty picture, it's actually a useful tool. So
Who would have thought in the age of AI that websites are the useful tool that we all need? So our first thing that we're talking about is, from me on the sales side, a lot of times I get questions from clients that say, what's the ROI on my website? And I'd love to, get your initial input, but I know for me, the first thing that I usually say to people is to almost think of the first thing, the most impactful is some of the leads lost. So a lot of people will think that if I invest this 5 to 6 digit investment, I should be getting 3x that revenue. But I look at it a little bit also of if you don't invest that amount of money, how many leads are you losing, right? Especially for people in those referral based. So yeah, there's a obviously a desire to have a return on investment, but again, not investing, you're potentially even losing a little bit more. But I would love to know what you think about a return on investment for your website.
yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it. And I think the difficult part is that's harder to measure. So people want numbers. They always want to see numbers. They want to see the dollar signs. And it's harder to measure. But I think the biggest mistake people make is attaching a number to ROI. And also having that expectation, but not preparing for it. So I feel like a lot of people, they know they need a website, they put a website up, and they never touch it again. We say this all the time, the set it and forget it mentality. And if you think about hiring a new employee, if you hired a new employee and you just set them on their way and you never had check-ins with them, you didn't have any goals, you didn't have any expectations set, and you weren't going back to them and saying like, how's this going? How are you doing with this? Oh, you're a little bit slow on this. Let's change this instead. I mean, you don't even know what would happen with that employee. You'd be completely in the dark. And I think a lot of people are in the dark when it comes to their website. And some parts of ROI it's not financial, it's not money. Sometimes it's just getting people to the website, educating them. So I think starting out with some goals in mind, and then attaching those goals to metrics and knowing, okay, for this goal, we're going to measure it this way. For this goal, we're going to measure it this way. And that keeps you sort of just informed about what the website's doing, and your expectations are more realistic than, say, I'm going to make $3 million. Everyone wants to make $3 million on the website, but yeah.
2x time my investment, right?
Yeah.
Especially the small business owners and listen, I'm a small business owner too, and I look at some of that stuff, but there's brand trust, right? So there's that intangible that you're talking. I love the fact that you talked about the goals, but the other thing that I always really urge people to look at as well is how much of that trust factor are you potentially losing if you're not continually updating your website, talking about what it is that you're doing, especially if you're a referral based business. Someone's going to go to your website and be like, this doesn't look anything like someone else told me. And or it's something that is completely left field from what I was expecting, and you lose a lot of that trust. And then you're not getting some of that ROI again, right? So it's kind of what are you losing before you go into the investment?
Yeah, exactly. And I think people know, people can see right through when you just threw something up or if it's extremely outdated. And I think that's the one benefit. A lot of people are afraid of AI. But I think there's going to be some part of it where people are looking for the more human side of things. They're craving it even more now. So they're going to know if you put your heart and soul into this website, and you're speaking to your users, like you're considering the human on the other side of that screen, they're going to see that, they're going to feel it now more than ever. Like I think before a lot of people knew like this is a part of our marketing strategy. This is a website that we're using to sell to you. Um, and so it was kind of difficult to, um, I think people were like sort of their bullshit meter was a little bit off. So, but now I think, they, like I said, they'll be craving that human. So if you put that human energy into the website and, you're evolving too, your business is evolving over time. So many of our clients that we talk to, they haven't touched their website in a couple of years, sometimes up to a decade. It's like if your business is still in the same place, I would be surprised. And so it really does affect that trust factor when what you say on your website isn't like what you're doing every day.
Well, and you go back to your employee, right? So, like, if you sit your employee in a corner and you're not giving them coaching, mentorship, like guidance, sending them to business development, it's the same thing for your site. If you're not producing thought leadership, if you're not talking about some of the things that you're doing, especially in a world of AI, like AI can serve up vanilla ice cream any day of the week, right? It's looking for the brands that are throwing in some of that. What's the opposite of vanilla ice cream? Like Rocky Road? I don't know. It's like moose tracks or something. Sprinkles and gummies and everything else. Like it's that opinion, it's that thought leadership. Let's look at it in a different way. Where's that authority that you can add in as well, which again will just yield you for more return on your investment if you look at it that way.
Exactly. And like I said, then you know what to measure too. So you don't feel like you are so much in the dark. I think a lot of people, if they don't have a tech background, if they're not familiar with websites, they get very intimidated and they're sort of like, well, I think my website's doing this. And then it gets so far down the path, and when it's not doing it, then they're so frustrated because they're like, we put all this money into it and all this time has been wasted. We thought it was doing all of these things and it wasn't, because you weren't measuring things and you weren't adjusting things. So, yeah, having a plan in place, having a partner there, or, even an external partner like RedTree coming in and helping you, or someone on your team, like making sure that someone on your team is taking care of the website, nurturing the website, I think is really, really important because if not, you've sort of wasted that investment of even putting the website up in the first place. Um, yeah, all that potential that you're talking about, those missed sales, that trust that you could have been building, has been lost. So,
And I would also suggest to think of it to a little bit of a long game on a sort of last little note, but like we have some clients who so we have a nonprofit that we just recently launched a new website for called PA Women Work. And PA Women Work, very shortly after we launched their new website, got called to be on the Kelly Clarkson show. And it's like, I don't want to necessarily say that the website got them on Kelly Clarkson, although maybe sure. But like as they had a better website, better user experience, they had something that showed more what it is that they were doing. They were able to have somewhat of these opportunities. Think of it as if I launch this new website and maybe I don't see the tangible data from Google Analytics, but my business is growing, more people are referring me, more people are inquiring. There's a correlation for that for sure. And sometimes it might not be exact metrics inside of your website, but you might see an increase in basic referrals or awareness or even just conversations that are had outside of your actual website itself.
yeah. Yeah, and the other thing with the Kelly Clarkson show, they could also be proud sending that link over. So when they reached out and said, "What's your website?" they were happy to share it. They weren't panicking about, well, all of this is outdated and we haven't touched the site in a decade. So, if we send this over and people come to it, it's going to be a nightmare. Everything was up to date. It really showcased who they were, what they do. And I think that's another piece that people miss is it can be a tool where if somebody's on a sales call and they need to show an example of something, they have a link they can share right away, and you don't have to create a deck every time and waste all these resources, because you have this living, breathing piece of your brand, which is your website. It's already there. It's already doing its work. so it's already supporting your brand every single day.
Absolutely love it. Awesome. Thanks, Alyssa.
Yeah.
I think we're talking again in a few weeks. So anyone watching this, stay tuned.
Love talking about this stuff. Thanks, Meesha.